Kasparov always opens c5, and the first 5 moves are the same as they've been in the other 2 games with Short playing white. Maybe we'll get 12 games like this in the match. But this is something new. In the earlier games, Short brought out his other bishop to this square, which I think is the sharpest line against Black's system. Bishop here, perhaps the second sharpest. He's certainly willing to fight this man. He's not playing any of the more quiet options.
Indeed, the criticism of Short has been he's been too ready to fight before, hasn't he? And he's been taking too many risks. Isn't that what people have been saying?
Well, if you want to beat Kasparov, you have to take some risks.
All right.
I think Short believes that's the way you have to play with the white pieces. You must attack. You've got the initiative. Now, the pawn comes up here to stifle the bishop on this diagonal. And the whole question, the whole strategy of white is to try to open that diagonal again and use the bishop for an attack. At the moment, it drops back. And now the knight coming, what, maybe coming round here, perhaps even take the bishop. But that takes time.
Yes, earlier on this year, Short asked me about this system, and I explained that this move, knight bd7, is one of the main problems with the development of the bishop to c4 and b3 as he's played. Earlier on, people used to advance the b pawn, but now it's thought better not to weaken the queen side, but just to get on with development.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to watch that black knight, are we?
So the knight attacking this pawn, both black knights attacking the white pawn, and also the knight preparing to exchange itself for the bishop, perhaps. And Short just continuing with his plan of softening up this pawn, trying to get it to advance, to open, or to capture, to open the diagonal for his bishop. I think Bobby Fischer used to win games like this very quickly in the 1960s. You open the diagonal for the bishop and all the pieces storm in, and you sacrifice a pawn or two and it's mate.
Well, that's the advantage of this particular knight development, because the knight's ready to hack off the bishop if that diagonal becomes open.
And the knight, of course, is also defending this pawn. Actually, practically everything on the board's attacking or defending that pawn. You've got black's knight defending it, the bishop defending it, the pawn defending it. Meanwhile, white's pawn, knight, bishop attacking it. The whole strategic fight is over whether that pawn is going to stay on that square or get lured off it and make the bishop stronger.
He could shun forward one, couldn't he?
He could, but if the pawn moves here, it leaves this square undefended. And
okay.
A big strategic advantage for white to gain control of that square in the middle of the board. Queen coming out. And white's keeping black guessing as to which side he's going to castle. Maybe he'll decide later that the more aggressive plan is always to castle on the queen's side, bring the king over here, shove this pawn forward, maybe advance again, and just push black backwards. Now he's done it. Kasparov's advanced the pawn. He's got that comes as a surprise to me, because now black's pawn structure is very rigid. He's lost control of this square. He's attacking the knight.
Explain why that's important, Bill, losing the control of that square. That's the very central square of the board.
You don't want to leave a square in the middle of the board that an opponent's knight or bishop or rook or something could land on. In the early stages of the game, the centre's the most important place, because you don't know where the action's going to happen, and you want pieces in the middle because they can go to all corners of the board from there.
Even so, he sent Short's knight putting right back, isn't he?
Yeah, but the knight can get active again in a few moves. This square is permanently weak.
Well, it's a balance between time and strategic advantage. White has gained something in the long term, but black's gained time by attacking the white knight. And he'll have to use that quickly now.
What was odd was that Kasparov now spent half an hour on his next move. And I find this very odd, because he played this absolutely crucial decision, crucial strategic decision, advancing the pawn. Short's knight went to the only square on the board available, and then he thought for half an hour over what to do next. That's unnatural.
Well, I think the explanation for that is that the move he's just played, this advance of the pawn on the queen side, has never been played before. Previously, black had always taken the bishop on b3 with his knight and then pushed the queenside pawn. So this is an innovation. It's the first time it's been played, and probably he wanted to check it in his own mind before he proceeded along this novel course.
Now, that kind of innovation is a thing that puts the scares up the opponent, is it? Where you think, my goodness, I've never seen that before. And that's when you tend to lose time.
Well, it is, and part of it is uncertainty. You don't know whether it's a bluff or whether it's something that's been analysed for days and weeks by the opposing team.
Well, what do you think? What do you think Kasparov's up? Is it bluff by Kasparov? What do you think?
I think he's just playing for a sharp and original game.
Surprising.
Short's taken advantage of the fact that the bishop wasn't taken, but to move it. Now, if the knight takes it, White's knight takes back, and White's knight ends up on that beautiful central square. So the rook moves. The rook was attacked by the bishop. And that's really bold.
Well, it's also practically forced, because otherwise black pushes his own pawn to that square, and then the other white knight has to retreat to the first rank, and that would be hopeless.
He needs the knight where it is to defend the bishop, to recapture. Okay? So knight retreating now. Now he takes the bishop. Knight recapturing.
The whole battle really now revolves about this central square d5. White's going to reinforce it with his other knights and with a rook, and black's going to try to demolish the chain of white pieces defending that square with his bishop. He'll bring the other knight round to attack it. So the whole battle is over the control of this one square.
Setting up for some carnage.
It's all happening exactly as you said. Everything attacking or defending this knight. So we can expect, yes, a lot of exchanges on that square. And it ends up with a white rook there, which would normally be a great advantage. But because of this pawn move, White has a lot of weaknesses on this file, this line. So I think we'd expect Kasparov, yes, rook coming over to attack this pawn. This pawn, this pawn, this pawn. Got there.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, it's a very sharp position, because black's pressure on that open line that Bill just pointed out gives him the long-term advantage. It means that White has to go for some sort of active counterplay on the king's side, or else he's just going to...
Which he's now doing, isn't
Which
he?
he's now doing, or else he's just going to lose this pawn on c2 in the long run in any case. So it looks like he's decided to sacrifice it immediately, rather than be tied down to the defence.
That queen move threatening maybe to bring the bishop here looks the start of... It could be the start of a short attack.
Well, now, there we were, John Dunn, 21 moves into the game, with them beginning to run a bit short of time, yes?
Yes,
now, how exciting is the game, do you think?
It's an extremely tense position. I mean, Short now has to burn his boats and throw everything into the attack and hope that he will get some result on the king's side.
And looking at it dispassionately, a chance of a win for Short?
It must be a possibility.
Bill, what do you think?
I think if Short doesn't win this one, he'll never beat him. It's
really
a wonderful attacking position. He's got queen, rook, bishop, nicely placed pawn. Everything is ganging up on Kasparov's king.
And things building up on the right-hand side of the board. So this also, should be a Short victory. First one of the match.
Also, Kasparov has 21 minutes left to play another 20 moves.
Wow.
I think Short must be feeling fairly happy about this one.
All right. Well now, Bill, take us through the rest of the game, move by move.